Pittsburgh Steelers fans, you know it. It is Monday once again. It is time for another hangover. And hey, the official offseason, well, it started last Monday, and we are here to talk all about it. Tony Defeo, my good friend, is here. Shannon White, my good friend, is here. Hello, gentlemen. How are you?
I'm wonderful.
Well, that's good. I think Tony's having some technical problems. Hey, we've got some other guests because, look, I figure if anybody's going to be able to talk about the impact, the socio and economical impact of the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2023, it's going to be this gentleman here, Jeff Hartman. It would be this gentleman, Dave Schofield, but no one wants to hear him, do they?
No.
So, Dave, do you want to help us out with this?
See, because here's the thing. One, Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman, which of course is the completely made-up name for him, because that's what we like to do. He's joining an elite club today, okay? He finally gets to say what the rest of us get to say.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
That's it. That's what this is really all about. Jeff, you're a man now, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm 40. That's right. Today is my birthday. Thank you all for the birthday wishes and all the people on the Steel Curtain Network staff and also the BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. That website still exists. The staff that wished me a happy birthday, I appreciate it. 40 feels a lot like 39 did a day ago.
Well, you were on a show with all 50-year-olds except for Dave. So, you know, we're ticking time bombs at this point, Shannon, Tony, and myself.
Yes.
So, Dave, what was your message to Jeff? I thought it was very funny.
Well,
what did you send to him?
It's kind of morbid. It's I remember when I finally, got to say,
I'm a man. I'm 40.
I'm sorry, I can't get enough of that. I spoke to someone like a few days beforehand. I'm like, that's the day that changes everything. Because if I were to keel over right now, people would be like, oh man, he didn't even make it to 40. What's going on? But you know what? Now, Jeff, today, tomorrow, something happens. They're like, well, he was 40. So it really is that key date in your life. So from the most morbid way I could think of it, happy birthday, Jeff.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And I intentionally kept off of our Slack channel today because I wanted to wait until now to wish you a happy birthday. So I think of Jeff as a big brother, even though he's a lot younger than me because he always was bossing me around and telling me what to do. I'm just joking. Or am I? No, that's okay.
Someone has to steer the ship, Bryan. Someone has to steer the ship.
So from the bottom part, happy birthday. Tony, you've probably worked with Jeff the longest here too. So I'll let you say something real quick.
Yes. Happy birthday, Jeff. And if you want to take a nap, I don't blame you. I mean, you probably could use one at this age. I'm allowed to say that because I'm way older than you. So I'm allowed to. If you said that joke about me, it'd be ageist. So.
And Shannon, let's send Jeff home. Any special wishes for Jeff?
Definitely. Happy birthday to our fearless leader. And all I can say is at 52, it's all downhill. From 40, it's all downhill. So, at least it's easier because, you have no control. You're just sliding on by. But no, really, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. And Dave, I always say, people always say like I'm a man, I'm 40, like that clip that you play. I still can't believe he's still the coach at that school. Like that is unbelievable. In NCAA football, where things are so transient at times, you think that after that soundbite, think about all the great sound bites in football history. Even Denny Green, rest in peace, with they are who we thought they were. We let him off the hook. Like he was fired shortly after that season. I mean, he didn't last in Arizona. I mean, you could go down the long list.
We thought they were.
I'm sorry.
He's prepared. Look at Dave.
Yeah,
listen to the yins all the time. He's ready.
That guy is still the coach. Yeah.
Jeff, thanks for coming on. And
no problem.
We love you immensely. And you can take solace in this, or maybe not. Or let's put it this way: I take solace in this. I still look younger than you.
Do you really?
Yeah, I think I did.
Well,
really
if
did.
that gives you solace, Brian, and helps you sleep better at night, then bless you, man. Like that's
It's the
great.
only
I'm glad-
genetic lottery I'm ever going to win. It's hair.
You do have
Yeah.
hair. That is true.
Jeff, I'll help you out. Brian,
You are, with all due respect, dumb.
All right, guys,
that
thanks so
note-
much. We got a show to do.
All right,
Unless you
go
want to talk
after it,
about
guys.
wait.
Dupree for the next hour.
One more.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
No, we have to send them off the right way.
All right, guys. See you
All right.
later.
All right, have a good show,
Happy
guys.
birthday.
All right, that was a lot of fun. It was great to have Jeff in. I knew I was going to have to twist his arm to come on the show, but and so I had to make up some stuff. And I knew he wasn't going to believe me. Jeff's a lot smarter than I even give him credit for. So, Dave's still here. Dave, you want to hang out? Dave, you can still hang out with us if you want.
Yeah, I got to go make dinner. I'll listen to.
All right, bye. He's gone. All right, guys. So let's do this. Let's have a lot of fun today. This is called the Black and Gold Welcome Back Mat, and this is where Tony and Shannon were fighting over before the show who was going to be able to sing "Welcome Back" by Mr. Was it Paul Sebastian or John Sebastian? I think it was John Sebastian from the Lovin' Spoonful from way back when. Do you guys know that? But I know
Tony
you guys
does.
watched
I have
the
no
show.
idea what you're talking
Tony
about.
does.
Tony, you know the song.
Tony knows.
Welcome back. Welcome back, Cotter.
Yeah. Welcome back. Your dreams.
Oh
were
yeah,
your
I know
ticket
the
out.
song. I don't know who sings it.
I always mess that. It was a #1 hit back in 1976, and I think it was John Sebastian, but I always mix it up. So I'm going to go ahead and look it up here just to make sure I'm right. Yes, it is John Sebastian. Why I wanted to call him Paul, I don't know, but he was the founder and harmonica player for the Lovin' Spoonful, and I know the Lovin' Spoonful, and also that song, Welcome Back, Cotter, was a great show in the 70s. I know, Tony, he had to have watched that show.
Oh, yeah. I watch that all the time. Yeah. I just didn't know who sang the song, but that's definitely one of the great sitcoms of all time, without a doubt.
And I had a crush on Mrs. Cotter.
Yes.
Shannon White, did you watch that show?
I don't remember that one.
Well, John Travolta was on it. He was Vinnie Barbarino, the great Gabe Kaplan, who's still with us, by the way. Gabe
We had
Kaplan's still with us.
had like 3 channels, and in the country we didn't. I mean, it probably was on, but I might have been watching something else.
What else are you watching in the country, Shannon? I'm not.
Well, I mean,
Shannon,
it could have been, country shows. Like it could have been Gunsmoke.
Like Hee Haw?
It could have been Gunsmoke. It could have been Hee Haw. It could have been Dukes of Hazzard. Stuff like that.
Oh,
That's what I
watched
grew up
the Duke
on.
Boys.
I watched all that stuff too. I watched all that
Yeah.
stuff too.
So
I guess I watched way more TV than Shannon.
Yeah, I think Tony and I could go. We could probably go head to head for hours, trying to one up each other on 70s and 80s shows, and I think it would be really tough. That's how Tony and I became buddies for the first time. And one of the reasons we're definitely buddies too is not just our love for the 70s and 80s, it's our love for the 70s and 80s Steelers. But also our love for the 2022 Steelers, the 2023 Steelers, and the 2037 Steelers. We're going to be loving them unless our 60s get to us. So with that being said, let's talk about who we could go ahead and welcome back. And welcome back with the Black and Gold Welcome Back Mat. Now, there's been a lot of talk about some guys that are going to be free agents. We know 2 of the main ones. They were just playing in the Super Bowl. Juju Smith-Schuster, Javon Hargrave. We're going to talk about them. Then there's other stories out there. There's some players that have already been cut that have black and gold ties. One of them has already come back into the fold. It's Quincy Roche. He did not play long for the Steelers. In fact, I don't really know. Has Quincy played a regular season game?
No.
I know he's played preseason.
No.
But he's a guy that a lot of people were glad to get back.
Yeah.
He might be one of those guys that then there's the guys that kept coming back. They kept on getting cut, kept on coming back. Some of them went to different teams, some of them didn't. LJ Fort comes to mind. Man, they cut that poor guy over and over and over again. And then there was Tuzar Skipper. Got cut, went to a team, came back.
Mhm.
Got cut again, went to another team, came back. Then there's a guy like Ola Denny. They tried to bring him back. The black and gold welcome back mat was out for him. But he didn't pass a physical, which I'm still reeling from that. I thought that was a big deal back in October or November when that happened. So, guys, there's another guy that I want to talk about too, who has he hasn't even been cut yet, but there's rumors because this time of year there's rumors of guys that are going to be cap casualties because we've got to get to the new year, which is March 11th. I can't remember the date. I didn't even look. That's a stat geek question. We should have kept him on just for that. He knows that stuff. And there's some guys that could be released, and there's a main one on that list for me. But I'm going to start with you guys. Tony, is there anybody out there that used to play for the Steelers, even if he's still on a roster right now, that you think you could possibly see coming back in 2023?
Oh gosh. That's a good question. I mean, other than Hargrave, which would be a big acquisition. So that's probably everybody's probably thinking about him. But other than him, I really can't think of anybody.
What's the importance of reacquiring Hargrave? Does it make sense to this team, or did he do much better being in a 4-3?
And I think he was good here. I mean, I don't know if he was better in Philadelphia or not. I mean, obviously he had a great career, but he was certainly good here. He was certainly good for them here. And if they would get him back, I mean, that solves some problems. With sure, if they brought him back, Ogunjobi would depart. And we all love DeMarvin Leal and his potential. And Cam's not getting any younger, so I mean that would fortify that position for the future.
Cannon, what are your thoughts on Javon Hargrave first?
Hargrave was a really good player for the Steelers. Jeffrey Benedict has did multiple articles pointing out, the havoc he caused on the inside, and it made the linebackers better because at that time, they had Tuitt and Hargrave and Hayward across the line. And even when Hargrave left and you had a Lulu in there, those lines just were so disruptive, and it allowed the inside linebackers to flourish. So I could see the argument. I know Jeffrey would love to see a big defensive tackle, somebody get signed like a Hargrave. We've talked about Daron Payne from the Washington Commanders. He's a little younger, but they're looking at him at like $19 million a year. So he's going to be, they'd really have to get creative to try to squeeze him under the cap. And he would definitely be their one big signing. And then they wouldn't be able to address other needs in free agency. So that's a little far-fetched. But Hargrave was really effective for the Steelers, but I think he's a better 4-3 defensive tackle. If you look at his sack numbers, they've only went up with the Eagles, where he's able to they just, set him free. There was an article the Super Bowl week talking about how that he blossomed in Philadelphia because they removed a lot of restrictions that, being in that 4-3, because we always said he was a natural 4-3 tackle. So I think he would be better off to go somewhere else that's running a 4-3.
Well, let's keep on talking about that. And I'm going to ask you if you were going to bring somebody else back, who it would be. But I want to go ahead and ask Tony that, and then you. Do you ever see them, Tony, going back to a 4-3? They were years ago. I think 83 is when they crossed over. 82 or 83 is when they crossed over to the 3-4. But could you see it happening again?
Well, I mean, there's so much hybrid defense now with them, and like with their base defense is what dime now, basically. I don't know. I mean, it's like they do so much 3-4 and 4-3 defenses to begin with. So, I mean, I think they're doing that now anyway. But as far as a base defense, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think their base defense is more like dime now or nickel or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I think that's what more their base defense these days. So I don't really see that. Maybe, I mean, Shannon's he's maybe a better expert on that than I am. What do you think, Shannon?
Well, you said it right. They do so much, so many different formations that, it's such a fluid, depending on matchups. And so you see some 3-4, you see some 4-3, you see some 4-4, you see some, we're seeing towards the end of the year, we see some creative packages to, against the heavy run teams like the Baltimore Ravens and the Browns. So, you get guys like Leal, who's kind of a tweener, and Leal can actually rotate outside, or he could be, your normal 3-4 defensive end. I think it's going to depend on the talent that, nowadays it's the talent you can acquire. Like if you look at the last 2-3 years, the Steelers inside linebacker position has been a huge weakness. It's been subpar from what the standard has always been. So maybe if you had one outstanding interior linebacker and you have plenty of good defensive line depth, because we believe that Andy Weidl will build both foundations for the Steelers, the offensive and defensive lines. If they acquire enough defensive line talent, they might do a little bit more base 4-3, because they definitely have a hole in the inside linebacker position.
Absolutely, they do, and I'm glad you brought that back up. It might be, and I think Tony made a huge point there that they're just a 3-4 in name, because you have to say what kind of defense you are, and then most of the time they're changing around due to whatever they feel they need to do. So maybe that's a thing that you don't even look at anymore. I like how he said that, maybe they're a dime team. So there's so many different things that they do. So that might just be an outdated thing, just labeling what kind of defense you run, because it changes so much due to situation. So let me ask you this. So let's go back to Shannon here. Do you have anybody that was out there on this team before that you think could come back?
Now, I'm kind of like Tony. Nobody really immediately come to mind. I thought of Hargrave, but again, I think he's better in a 4-3. We mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster, but I think that what they're needing at that position, Juju is still a very young receiver, even though he's been in the league quite a while. So he's a very young veteran. And I think, Juju loves Pittsburgh, and I think the organization loves him, but I just don't see the fit and the need right now. Running Matt Canada's offense. And he's also had some injury issues. I know that somebody's mentioned here in the comments about Dupree, but he's not a free agent. But we talked about he might get released.
He's on my list, so
yeah,
don't let them run the show. I've got it coming up. That's on my list, guys. I do some preparation here. So, but anyways, let's go ahead and look at some of these other guys. But since you already brought up Juju, let's go ahead and talk about Juju. Look, I don't particularly like the escapades from last week, and I'm not even looking at the live chat right now because I'm looking at my notes here, so I'm not seeing what you're putting down there. But Tony, put all that aside. Is Shannon right on the dot there? Is he on the mark when it comes to Juju, that it's just like a familiar name that you might want to bring back and that's it?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now, with George Pickens and Deontay Johnson, they're pretty solid at 1 and 2. I mean, if you brought Juju in, he'd be your number 3, right? At least at best. And I don't think he wants to come here and be the number 3 receiver anymore. I think he wants to go somewhere and make big money, because he really has yet to get that big contract, and he's not going to get it here. So he was a great story when he was here. I liked him a lot for some reason. Well, we know what the reasons were, that he fell out of favor with a lot of people. He was a great ambassador when he was here, and I wish him well. But I don't think he'd be a good fit here anymore. Simply because I don't think he would get the money here that he wants, and he would be too far down the depth chart for them to be here.
Well, it's not a part of whether he would want to come back. Would they welcome him back? This is the welcome match show. Do you think the Steelers would welcome him back, or do you feel like with all of these guys that it's just the case of, it's like, hey, we've done business, we wish you well, but like the song says, it's closing time. It doesn't matter where you go, but you can't stay here.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it myself.
I think they would welcome him back.
Yeah,
I don't.
You think they would welcome him back?
Shannon. Well, of course. I mean, with the right price.
And I guess price is the big thing here. Absolutely. Any final thoughts on Juju, Shannon?
No, like I said, I'm a big Juju fan. I like him. I think he's a good guy. I think that you can stay away from the social media a little bit, just from it's not a distraction. It was after the Super Bowl, but all that stuff started coming out, and I think a lot of times he's just having fun. It's all meant to be in good fun, and so it was just a little bit of. It seemed kind of childish from both sides, in my opinion. But the way things are, and I think that Ben's gone now. He really stayed around and come back that last year to play with Ben, and I think it's just best that he moves on. I do not think the Steelers are really interested in having him back.
All right, so there are other guys on the list that we have forgotten about. Guys that are free agents right now that kind of lost track of. And the Steelers are probably going to need another tight end. And you know who's there? Well, it's Jesse James.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think as a veteran and a veteran minimum that they would bring Jesse James back as a second tight end? It's possible. Shannon, I'll start with you.
Oh, no, he should have caught that ball, and he killed the Steelers.
He did catch that ball.
So they can't bring him back. But, he has bad hands.
Tony, your thoughts?
Well, I think they seem to like Zach Gentry a lot. He seems like he's really evolved into their number 2 tight end, and so I don't know. If they brought Jesse James back, what would that mean for Zach Gentry? So
if he doesn't sign, he's a free agent. So if he doesn't sign, then
Zach Gentry's free. Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. 2019. Yeah, okay. Well, if Gentry doesn't sign, then absolutely, I would bring back Jesse James. I like Jesse James. I mean, he's about as solid as you can get for a number 2 tight end. You can't do better than that, really.
He's a criminal.
Are you talking about
Jesse James? He's a criminal. He's infamous.
Yeah,
Google him. He's a criminal. And
I know. Yeah.
Catch. So no.
And he stays alive for a long time. He's got staying power. I mean,
talk about your off the field
shot at
bank robbing.
Yeah, that's major off the field issues. If you're robbing banks back in,
they don't need that kind of headache.
Was it the 1800s or 1900s?
Now you're gonna be.
I heard he has the gang. He's part of the gang. His brother's bad news.
I tell you what, man, we're off the rails big time. Maybe we should take a break. We are having fun here, but we're gonna go ahead and take a break. We'll be back for the second half here of the show we could like to call the Hangover, and I think all of us are hungover today. Maybe it's Jeff Hartman's birthday that we're all hungover and celebrating.
The worst looking man you've ever seen. There I am on the subway train.
Yes, we are on that subway train, and that subway train is going to take us all the way to free agency, which is, my gosh, it's right around the corner. It's coming up. I'm like the Steel Curtain Network groundhog that I come up and say, hey, it's right around the corner, or a couple more weeks to free agency. And I cannot wait, because free agency is definitely going to set the stage for the draft, and we're going to see what happens there. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and look at some of these other guys that have hung out here in Pittsburgh, and now they left, whether they were cut, whether they were traded, whether they were taken away via free agency. But there's a possibility that some of these guys might come back as veterans. Some of them might be past their prime completely. It's something we could talk about. And here's an interesting name that I don't think any of you thought of. It's Tyler Matakevich is a free agent. He took a good bit of change that I didn't think he was ever going to get. And he went to the Buffalo Bills, and he's been there a while now. And now he's up for free agency. He's one of those career special teamers that's going to help out in a pinch. But I got to say, guys, I think it's one of those that we think fondly of the Dirty Red era, but we kind of think it's past. Tony, do you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great, I don't know if he's still a great special teams player. He certainly was here. But, I mean, you're supposed to be able to find those guys as rookies, right? And to have a lot of those kind of players right now anyway. So I don't see what the point would be to bring him back other than, nostalgia. I don't know. I mean, he's not the best special teams guy in the NFL. I mean, it's not like you need a huge upgrade there. So, I mean, I could see them passing on him.
Let's talk about Dirty Red, Shannon. Any thoughts? Because I kind of think Tony's right on about that. I think he was a little harsh on Dirty Red, but I'm just kidding, Tony. I just don't feel like it's something that they would do, but he's on that list that a lot of us did not remember, and so is the next guy. Shannon?
I agree with Tony. I might be a little more harsh. He offers nothing in the defensive package. He is a special team specialist, and that's it. He's going to be very cheap for somebody who needs him. Steelers don't. I mean, you got Dan Crowder. You hope to get not Dan Crowder. Oh my gosh, Derek Watt. Man, I've been really going back talking about Dan Crowder, but we got Derek Watt, and you'd like to see Miles Boykin come back. He's a great special teams contributor. So, but really, Matakevich could go to the Philadelphia Eagles, who had a lot of special teams issues this year, and they have plenty of depth, but they got enough depth and talent that they could utilize a free agent like him to strengthen special teams. But I do not see him coming back to Pittsburgh.
Do you remember where Dirty Red played college football? Anybody?
Was it Temple?
It was Temple.
Yeah.
Yep.
So maybe that makes sense for a guy like Tyler Matakevich. It's just actually, probably one of my favorites from that decade when he was here. I really enjoyed him. But yeah, I don't think it's a situation where he would need to come back. Here's an interesting one. I think this is the most interesting one to me. He's an older guy, but man, the Steelers drafted this guy in 2012, but he's a free agent. He's been solid in the league ever since. I think you get him for a veteran minimum, and his name is Kelvin Beacham. Shannon White. Do you think that could be a good addition to this line as far as depth goes?
Oh, he's a quality player, proven veteran. He's been a solid guy on every line he's played on. There was times he was signed to be a depth player, and it seems like whoever was ahead of him got hurt, and he ended up starting most of the year. If you look at his down through the years, he started, 11, 12, 13 games a year, even when he wasn't supposed to. He is a really quality guy. The Steelers need more talent along that line. So depending on price and what they accomplish in free agency, because, the draft is some projects after the first top few guys. There's, it's going to be some projects, not starters coming in. He would be a guy that you could look at to have on the bench that could start in a pinch. So, that makes a lot more sense than the other guys we've mentioned.
Tony, I really like the idea of a guy like Kelvin Beacham. And when I was watching your face, because you were probably wondering who I noticed you were wondering who I was going to bring up. And when I brought up Kelvin Beacham, you gave that nod, that nod of approval that when you're seeking out, it's like from your uncle, and you look, and then there's Uncle Tony going, "That's right, good job, my friend." So, what do you think about Kelvin Beacham?
I like Kelvin Beacham. He's a great story. He's a 7th-round pick. He's the guy that they brought in late in the season in 2013 when what's his name? Mike Adams. What's that guy's name that drafted in the 2nd round? He was a disaster. Short left tackle. Even through late 2013, that line was a disaster. They brought in Kelvin Beacham to play left tackle, and he helped solidifying. And then, of course, next year they hired Mike Munchak, and the line started to improve overall. He was a great player when he was here, and he was a great story, and he left for big money. So I would love for him to come back here and be a depth piece, like Shannon said he could start. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't he also like the emergency center when he was here? Wasn't he that versatile?
Yeah, he may have
or
been.
am I thinking of somebody else?
He very well.
So he would be a great veteran that could play right tackle, left tackle, maybe even on the interior of the line. So I would love that as a free agent signing for them. That's the kind of they're going to have to do some cap maneuvering this year to get under the cap. So that's the kind of bargain guy that maybe would really be a good signing for them.
Shannon, does his age matter right now?
Well, that's like you said, that's the guy you bring in as experience, depth. He could be a real asset to the young line who are all 26 or younger. And with starting potential and capabilities if he's, called upon. You don't want to go into the season with a guy his age as your, scheduled starter, but he could definitely fill in, like I said, in a pinch. So for that purposes, I'm not too worried about his age.
Yeah, you know what? I kind of like that. Tony, do you feel the same way about his age for what he would be brought in for? He would not be brought in as a prized free agent. He'd be brought in as that guy that could help out in a pinch. And if preseason makes it look like he's not that good, and he's maybe it's not a guy to bring in, you probably don't spend a lot of money to bring him in.
Right. You're not going to spend a lot of money to bring a guy like that. What was he, 32, 33 maybe at this point? So, yeah, I mean, that's not ancient for an NFL player. And you're talking got a lot of it just being brought in as a – so I don't think age would be an issue at all.
All right. So we talked about earlier about guys that are likely to get cut because there's going to be a lot of cleanup right now around this time of year. And a guy that seems to be on that list, and I would be not surprised one iota, Kappa, Lambda, Mu, none of them, if Bud Dupree is on that list and he's free. He kind of screams it. For the money that he was signed for, you could almost see him as being a free agent coming up with the health issues, with everything, with injury issues. So gentlemen, would Bud Dupree help this team, or how much would Bud Dupree help this team? Granted, now I've got to say with the caveat, he's got to come in really cheap. Mm-hmm. And that's what guys in this situation, they come in a lot cheaper than you would imagine them to. So I'm going to start out with Shannon on that one.
Well, if you remember when Bud Dupree left, I was like, I don't think he realizes how much he relied on having TJ Watt on the other side of the line and the defensive teammates that he had, Cam Hayward and Fitzpatrick and all those guys. And he was part of the system and he was a good fit. You couldn't, blame him for chasing the money, but I just didn't think he would ever see that contract out, especially in light of his knee. We still don't know if his knee will ever get back to where he was, and that would limit him. So if they do release him, I think that he's going to have to take less money wherever he goes, kind of on a prove-it deal. Well, let's say that the Steelers are not able to extend Alex Highsmith, which I really think that should be an offseason focus on trying to extend him for 3 or 4 years and try to get him at a reasonable price because he's already said he wants to be in Pittsburgh. So give him a fair market deal. I think they can sign him. But what if they can't? Then Bud Dupree comes in on a 1-year proven deal with the Steelers, shows that his knee has recovered, and he still is a good fit for the defense. Then he could sign a bigger contract if Highsmith leaves. You know, you would have the guy in-house already that would replace Highsmith if Highsmith just has another 14-sack season and balls out, and then the Steelers can't afford him anymore. So there is still an avenue for Bud Dupree to get serious money if he proves that his knee, you know, can get back to 100%. So I can see an avenue for him to come back to Pittsburgh.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could see that. Guys, I think that's a possibility, a guy like Bud. You know, Tony, any last thoughts on Bud?
Oh, yeah, I like Bud Dupree. I mean, obviously, like Shannon said, he has the issue with the knee. You don't know what his health is. We're at this point of his career. But, I mean, it'd make a great outside linebacker for them, the top backup. But it would have to be like, he would have to understand his role. I mean, obviously, he has a relationship with the team. He knows Mike Tomlin. He knows most of the players on defense. It can't be like a Melvin Ingram situation where he thinks he can come in here and, beat out Highsmith for the starting role. He has to realize his role. I mean, we saw that with James Harrison a number of years ago, where, he got angry and disgruntled because he wasn't getting any playing time, and he basically forced his way off the team. So it would have to be, we're going to bring you in here, but understand you're the backup. And maybe there's a something down the road we can work out. Like Shannon said, if we can't come to a deal with Highsmith, I mean, it's going to be hard to sign 2 high-priced free agents at the same position. So maybe there's a chance that they can work something out down the road. But as of right now, you are the backup if you come here.
Absolutely, and I kind of feel that way too. I would kick the tires on Bud Dupree, like Mike C says in the live chat. Bring back Bud Dupree makes sense on a cheap contract. That's the only way you want to do it. And Tony, you are absolutely 100% when you say that with any of these guys, especially with the veteran guys coming in and getting that chance. And, you want them to know that, hey, there's a possibility that you don't stay here. There's a possibility that you do stay here, but you've got to, like The Rock says, know your role. I'm not going to finish that. I'm a big Rock guy. And now we've got someone named D-Generation X in here, which I love. I love that too. Yep. 2 tears in a bucket. So I love it. Absolutely do. So, that was a good spirited talk. There's so much to talk about. Yeah, we can talk about, everybody's talking about free agents right now, but I wanted to go and look at the guys that have worn black and gold before and if they'd be a possibility to come back. So that's our show for today. Thanks so much. It's great to see all of you, whether you're an old name, a new name, whether you're one of us here at Steel Curtain Network, like my good friend Marky D and my other good friend B Dirt, Brandon Harriet. It's good to see those guys in here. So thanks for checking out this show as well. Guys, it's going to be a tearful one. The final Steelers touchdown under on Behind the Steel Curtain or Steel Curtain Network coming up on Friday night. We wish Marky D and his buddy Matty P very well as they look at doing some of their own stuff, which if you don't have me as a guest, I'm going to be really mad on that. And then also check out the homies, B Dirt's on that show, man. And that's some good barbershop talk with Big G, with Pay, and of course, the homie Fresh Boy Tate leading everything off there. So check those guys out. Definitely a big part of our lineup. There's new changes. There's new badging. We are going to be under a new network, which I'm really excited to. I'm going I'm not going to say the name yet of the new network that we're under. Still Curtain Network's not changing, but as we're a part of SB Nation, we're going to be under a different brand, and we're going to talk about that real soon. Of course, Dave Schofield stayed in. I know he's cooking dinner, but he's hanging in. It was great to have him in here too. Wishing one Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman, which I know that's not his name, but he doesn't care. He messes up everybody else's name, so it does not matter. So, so with that being said, happy birthday to Jeff joining the 40 Club. We didn't bring him in when he turned 39. We were on the show. We played Jeff Purdy 2 years ago when he turned 38. So we had Jeff Trivia, which Dave and I knew all the answers to that. We know Jeff way too well. But guys, it's been a great show. Tony, thank you so much. You got anything big going on this week here at BTSC on the editorial side, or Steel Curtain Network here?
Well, I mean, this is my only show as of right now. Hopefully I can have another show in the future. So but as far as the editorial side, I have a lot of stuff that's going to make people, and stay tuned. You're gonna enjoy it or you're gonna hate it, but you're gonna read it.
I love it. I love you rankle everybody, and I love it. That's always why we've been friends too. Shannon, what's up with you? Anything editorially? Anything coming up? What do you have going on also this week with GB?
Yeah, of course we'll have the curtain call, and on Wednesday, and I've got an article that I'm working on about 3 rumors that we're hearing, come out about the Steelers, and a couple of free agents and 1 trade possibility. So I've just got an article I'm going to write and ask the community. I'm going to put a poll in there and see what the community thinks, that if any of the 3, they're kind of a little bit of fantasy, and that they're long shots. But what would their choice be if you throw money out the window and cost wasn't an option? So that should be coming up here in the next day or two. But I'm just looking forward to a Wednesday night show.
All right. As for me, you can catch me once again on the Steelers preview. That's coming up Thursday night with my boys, Jeff and Dave. Then my other boy, this guy, a match made in heaven. I love working with this guy. Well, only a match made in heaven for me. It's probably a match made in hell for him to have to hang out with me every week, but it's KT Smith. So definitely check out that show. I'm going to have another episode of Bad Language last week, but I've got a new one this week. So make sure you check that out if you didn't catch it. I talk about the teams in the AFC I hate the most and hate the least. That should be a fun one as well. B-Dirt, you might not want to check that one out. So with that being said, Tony Defeo, I've got to tell you, this has been on my mind all day, and I think you're the only one that can complete my thought. Just when you think you've got all the answers.
We keep changing the questions.
I love the pregnant pause. Shannon White, take me home. You got it. That's right, Daddy. Hot times, Daddy. We out of here.